episode of Superhero Roundup, not live this week because of Thanksgiving. I am Matt Lieberman, joined on the couch by Sam Basher.
Hello.
And DJ Wooldridge.
Hello.
Maud Garrett. Unfortunately, she's back in her native land.
Of Austria.
Of Austria?
Of
No,
Austria.
Australia. Of Australia.
Plot twist.
We miss her very much, and we hope that she's doing well. We'll see her again very, very soon on the next episode. Want to wish everyone out there a happy holiday. This is, I guess, dropping the day after Thanksgiving. I hope you're not getting trampled at Black Friday. We've got a very, very big show today, but a little business up top first. We usually do this show live every single Friday at 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, only on SourceFedNERD. So if you're not subscribed to SourceFedNERD, you absolutely have to. Go and do. Join us live. It's the best way to enjoy this show. You can write at us in the chat, or you can tweet at us using the hashtag SHRoundup. And we do have some folks who tweeted in about Jessica Jones. We're going to be talking about all that. If you haven't checked this out on iTunes, please go rate and review the show. It really helps us out. It's how we get sponsors to keep the show on the air, okay? So it really, really helps us out. Today on the show, big show. Most of the series that we review are off the air, and that's a good thing because we are going to do a full review of Jessica Jones, the entire first season, because we watched it in one day, and many of you joined us. Several hundred of you joined us watching live all day and tweeting at us and periscoping with us and Google Hangouting, if that's a verb.
Yeah, and thank you guys for everyone who came and joined us. The numbers were crazy. And I saw that you guys were syncing up ours because we did a countdown with you watching at the same time, which is a lot of fun.
That's exactly what we wanted. So I'm glad you were all able to do it, and we really did have a blast. This show is a lot better than Daredevil. And it was a lot easier to get through it. Not to say that Daredevil's bad by any means.
Not.
We're not dissing Daredevil. I'm just saying this show was easier to watch in one go.
And better.
And
I'm just kidding.
better.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
We're also going to be talking about this week's episode of Supergirl and the two big trailers that dropped this week for Legends of Tomorrow on CW and for Captain America Civil War, which actually dropped this morning. We're taping this Wednesday, so it dropped last night into this morning, and it already has like 6 million views.
I know, right? I was watching it around 50,000. I was like, this is a historic moment for me.
Isn't that crazy? So let's jump in. Let's talk about Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow. The trailer dropped on Monday, I believe, and we got to see Adam in action. We got to see the whole team in action, which was pretty cool, and the new Firestorm that was introduced on Flash.
Yeah,
and he's got a great new suit.
Yeah, he's got a great new, more like the traditional Firestorm suit, which I
nice.
didn't know I needed, but once I saw it, I was like, thanks.
He also looks pretty cool in it. We also got to see a lot of Vandal Savage and set up for why Rip Hunter went back in time. We got to see the Wave Rider, I believe, if I make sure I have that name right.
Is that the name of the ship?
The ship,
because that's the name after. There's a time traveling character called Wave Rider. So
there's also an N64 game called Wave Racer,
even more
but it's
true.
very, very.
Yeah, but no, it is the Wave Rider because there's some. I read somewhere that there is a variation in the comics that the Wave Rider has, or Wave Rider has a ship called Wave Rider, I think, or this could just be a nod to him. Not sure, but there's a lot of fun.
Was he riding on time waves?
You know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's okay. Yeah, the Silver Surfer has a surfboard that he rides around in space, so it's not like it's not that crazy.
It's not a surfboard; it's a cosmic board.
It's a cosmic board. We got to see the Hawks.
Yep.
We got to see Adam,
which I still have mixed feelings about the Hawks with the wings.
Yeah, the wings are cool. The wings are cool in motion when they like disappear into nothing. I'm a little like,
you don't like that?
No,
I like that.
Because like with Falcon, for example, in Civil War, I'm like, oh, it goes into his Falcon backpack.
Yeah.
Their wings disappear into nothing because they're CGI wings.
But also they're like reincarnated beings, so maybe
so it's like spirit wings.
It goes back to that thing. Like I was talking to you, we were talking about it earlier, and looking at the trailer reminded me a lot of like Doctor Who.
Yes.
It's like a lot of fun sci-fi type things, and where the ambition, and this is kind of the place where Flash and Arrow live, where the ambition of the show outstrips what they're necessarily capable of doing, and that's okay because you're just like
you're in for the goofy fun.
I'd rather a show try to punch up, try to like, hey, let's try and do this big crazy thing, even if some of the effects or something isn't quite.
I'm a little nervous for the campiness that Captain Cold and Heatwave bring to the Flash because it's fun for the Flash.
Yeah.
You're about to have a really cool time travel adventure, and I get that you're adding all these characters in there with a bunch of different personalities, which is fun, but that joke grows old fast.
Here's the thing. if they can bring some humanity to Heatwave so that he's not just a cartoon, the show will work.
He's basically like an Adam West Batman 66 villain, like the way he plays it.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
But,
And that's better.
No,
and
that's okay when you are one of 3 villains in an episode. You can be
and
one note
also,
if that's what you're doing.
as long as Captain Cold doesn't get sucked into the campiness. If Captain Cold is the straight man of that duo, that makes it better.
I liked his episode with his dad in The Flash.
Yeah.
That was
Yeah,
great.
it was really
And he
good.
wasn't like, chill out.
Yeah,
bro. Like,
yeah.
with
But they
jokes
also
like
do
that.
feel the most out of, like, you see, like, oh, Firestorm, Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Atom, White Canary, cool, Captain Cold and Heatwave. Oh, okay.
It's like
That's
a team
kind
up,
of,
though.
that's
It's kind of
really,
fun.
you're kind of hitting it right there on the head, DJ, where the big question for me is I still don't get why these characters, other than these are the ones that contractually make sense for us at this point in time as a production company.
Yeah.
Like, I don't get why they're together. But if they embrace that and they make it into this ragtag team of people who should never have been thrown together,
Yeah.
I think that could work and could be interesting, because the vibe that I'm getting is kind of like Firefly in that way, where it's this group of orphans, like space orphans, basically, who don't really belong together but are able to function as a family.
And by the way, tune in next season for CW's new show, Space Orphans.
Yeah, I would watch the hell out of Space Orphans.
But what it is. Yeah, I get that they're supposed to be ragtag, but you have like Firestorm, who's like a really cool member of the Justice League and of just DC Comics. You have White Canary, an original character that's like just like cool Black Canary, no screech, no screaming, and
Different frequency, no cry.
No cry.
God, oh my God.
We'll see.
For me, it's fun because it's one of the few times that we're not like, oh, Deadshot and Harley Quinn and all these characters on Suicide Squad. Why? Well, because they're the ones in the comics. Like, this is a whole new thing, and that's kind of cool to see. It's and you kind of I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. This trailer. I was excited for it. This trailer really got, because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Also, with the line.
What?
I've seen Men of Steel die and Dark Knight's fall.
That's super cool.
Well, that's all. Everyone kept tweeting that to me, and I'm like, look, a line does not a series make.
Yeah.
That's one line in 13 episodes of a show.
But for me, what that says is that Batman and Superman exist in this universe, and that's all I need. I just need to know they're there.
You don't need to see them. You don't even need to get a hint of like Wayne Enterprises. We got to stop Wayne Enterprises in the 1970s or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, you don't need that. It was just nice that Rip Hunter is aware of them. Also, Rip Hunter is great.
Yeah, he looks
doesn't
like
seem
a
like Rory at all.
futury gunslinger.
Yeah, his little revolver is pretty slick.
I would
dig
love to
that.
see. There was a couple shots of them hiding behind like a wagon wheel. I would love to see Jonah Hex.
yes,
I would
Jonah Hex would be great
Love
on that show.
I think this is a great opportunity with the problem. The problem would be a problem of bloat, because the initial cast is already pretty big. But it would. They've already mentioned some characters when they travel to like Russia in the 80s and stuff like that. I'd love to see different characters from DC's history.
You do it like Brave and the Bold, and you don't necessarily need to use every member of the team for every mission.
Yes.
So you're able to go into, pairs and trios that can reveal different character dynamics. But like someone like Jonah Hex, do it like Batman Brave and the Bold, where they bring him in for one or for a two-parter, and he's just there. Or
I would
like,
love to see Jonah Hex.
JLU, I think he was also just there for one episode.
Well, they did a flashback episode. He was part of that two-parter that was great.
With the time travel
episode.
one.
Yeah,
cool.
Terry McGinnis Batman
Epilogue.
1 and 2.
Or no.
I know what
no,
you mean, but we know what you mean.
Yeah,
with,
yeah. And
yeah.
also in
whatever.
Batman the Animated Series, there was a one-off with Jonah Hex.
There was a cool little fan theory when the atom shrinks and grows, which actually looks way cooler than the initial Legends of Tomorrow trailer. It looks very, very, very slick. When he grows, there's a small explosion, and someone was like, when he initially shrunk at the tail end of last season of Arrow, there was an explosion. In this one, he didn't explode out of his case, but what if that was like a cool side effect of like the shrinking and growing, is that there's like an explosion?
I think where that comes from in the trailer, like, you need to grow. I think he's in something that he grows out of.
But like someone was like, that would be kind of a cool little note, because the smoke or whatever looks like the Palmer.
Well, there is something interesting, right? Because when he shrinks and grows, it's about adjusting the space between his atoms.
Yeah.
And the atomic bomb is about splitting an atom. And I have to wonder if aggressively changing the space between atoms can cause them to become unstable.
Scientists, let us know.
Let us know.
If you're a
Also,
scienceman.
I know Matt had mixed feelings about Vandal Savage, and
Mhm.
obviously we haven't seen him
I
do
love
anything
him.
yet. But I like the look. I like the obviously
He's very caveman for me.
Yeah.
That's exactly who he is.
I
though.
know, but like I like the animated Vandal Savage where he over time he cleaned himself up and he found like a look that was like sleek and
But
sinister.
you've seen Bruce Timm. Have you ever seen Justice League Doom, the animated movie?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that one looks like a caveman.
Yeah,
he looks.
I
like
I like mine
Neanderthal.
sleek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see. I really like that character. I think he's a very cool villain. I'd like to see what they do with him.
Yeah. I think the two things that are keeping me most optimistic are, one, this is our first team show
Yes.
from DC TV.
Official team show. 'cause
Official
obviously
team
each
show. Well,
character has their
that
own
was the
little-
point that I was going to make. It's like every other show that we have, it's a hero backed by a team.
Yeah.
And it's ultimately it's still about that one person. And the team, whether we like them or not, is ultimately kind of superfluous. It's really that hero's story.
Yeah.
With this show, it is all of the people are just as important as each other, and that leads to a different kind of storytelling, and that really excites me. I also really believe in Phil Klemmer, who's running the show, and I loved Chuck when it was on, and when that show was good, it was great.
Okay,
It
because
wasn't.
that was a
It
rough
definitely
show.
fell off the wagon in season 4 and got real bad. But like seasons 2 and 3 were really, really nice, and I really have faith in him as a showrunner. I think that he's a smart writer. I think that he knows what he's doing. I got kind of a Chucky vibe from the trailer almost. So
Cool.
very exciting.
We'll keep our eyes out. Oh, January 21st, 2016.
Oh,
Yeah.
and before we go off DC real quick,
Oh, you wanna talk about this
reported
really
some
quick.
news. You reported some news that they're talking about Black Canary and Justice League, and they
Yeah.
talked about a couple actresses.
Alona Tall.
Who I know of
And
from
something
Veronica
Lee.
Mars, but she was also on Hand of God and
Who was
stuff
she
like
on
that.
Veronica Mars?
She was the pregnant girl, the
Oh,
bus, all that.
Really?
bullshit.
With
Yeah.
Duncan and that
Yeah,
whole jam?
that whole mess.
Wow.
Duncan.
Yeah. And then the girl from one of the girls from Fury Road, Mad
Oh.
Max Fury Road.
Oh, cool. Yeah, I remember
Yeah.
that.
I would have maybe gone younger and gone with Micah Monroe from It Follows. And The
She's really
Guest,
cool. Yeah.
And maybe gone with the punk rock band Black Canary.
Mhm.
But there's
But again, this is a rumor.
Yeah.
Also, they said there was a rumor that Mira, Aquaman's wife, was going
Right,
to show
we
up in there.
discussed
which
that
is
on
good
the
because it'd be
show.
nice to
Yeah.
have some female presence. But it's also interesting because in part of your report is that they're speculating that Batgirl or Barbara Gordon is in.
She is. That is confirmed.
That is
she Yeah,
confirmed?
Barbara Gordon.
Fantastic.
Jenna
Jenna
Malone.
Jenna Malone. She's
Yeah.
fantastic. That's fantastic. And they're talking about maybe doing a Birds of Prey movie. And I really like DC to keep emphasizing the like Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, Justice League Dark, some of the weirder aspects. And it also highlights the benefit of the way DC's doing things that at least is, if nothing else, is different than Marvel, where we don't need a fucking explanation for every single fucking character and team. Like we're like,
True.
this character in this movie, this character in this movie, this is their backstory. Now there's a backstory of the team, and that backstory of the backstory and the backstory, and that's all the backstory. Like they're already. I'm assuming Barbara Gordon is already Oracle. We've already got Black Canary. They probably already have a relationship. We don't need to go into the whole
like,
What
mess.
if she? Oh, she probably is Oracle because it's in the future and
Yes.
Batman's
Without
older, yeah.
jumping ahead too far into Jessica Jones, it's kind of the beauty of what Jessica Jones did with their character development was we caught up with these characters after they already are fully defined. We're
Yes.
not watching everything happen to them that makes them them.
Yes.
We reveal that over time, and that doesn't just extend to Jessica, that extends to everybody.
Everybody.
And it's a much smarter way of building character.
Yeah, even the second to last episode, we get a flashback to where Trish and Jessica became like friends and
Right.
and sisters.
And
That's
we'll,
pretty cool.
we'll discuss more about Jessica
Yeah.
Jones in a moment. We're going to talk about Civil War in just 1 second. I just want to let everyone know, if you're waiting for a Jessica Jones review and you haven't seen it yet, we will do a spoiler-free review before we get into the nitty-gritty.
Yes.
So apologies if any of that felt spoilery to you. We really didn't spoil it.
yeah.
No, don't worry.
Yeah,
Promise.
Yeah. Okay. Civil War. You should also check out. Sam did a trailer breakdown on SourceFedNERD. You can check that
which
out.
is going up today / 2 days ago.
Yeah, it's going up Wednesday, so if you look, you can find it. Now, I think we're of a few different minds on this trailer. I thought it was dope.
No.
And okay, it's not that it's not awesome. It was really cool.
Yes,
There are a lot
it's
of really
very
cool
cool.
elements. favorite parts. Black Panther, I think he looks really cool. I loved like the eye aspect of his like costume. It's really cool.
He runs real fast.
He's very fast, which I hope they kind of dive into that a little, but leave the rest of the movie. But I like that. I like seeing Falcon being really badass because I love Falcon, and like the dialogue between like Tony and Steve is pretty cool. But at the end of the trailer, I was left feeling kind of empty. Age of Ultron left a really bad taste in my mouth.
Sure.
Yeah.
And this feels like, I mean, everyone's describing it as Avengers 2.0 or
Yeah,
2.5, sorry. And that's what this feels like.
You know what might be another part? Because I've been trying. There's elements of it that are really exciting, and overall, I'm really excited for the movie. But I had the same like, okay, and I wonder if the part of that comes from like, oh, it's another Marvel movie. Like it's not like it's another one. It's another. It's like it's more of the same. In some aspects, in other aspects, it's very different because I don't know if we've quite, even though the Avengers have fought each other in every single Avengers movie.
Yeah.
We've not quite seen this big brawl.
Yeah.
It's typically like your group of heroes versus a bunch of no names led by the one bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
Yeah. Well, here's why I'm excited for it. This is the first Avengers movie, if we can call it that.
Yeah.
I can't say for sure offhand if it's the first Marvel movie, but it seems to be the most character-driven Avengers movie ever, because the entire narrative, at least shown off by this trailer, is based on the fact that Cap cannot let Bucky be killed, even if he is guilty of a lot of crimes.
But he's not, though. That's the whole
Right.
point. That's the whole conflict.
Well, I mean,
Well, he's not guilty
necessarily-
of these crimes.
Yeah, but he is guilty of a lot of other crimes.
Yeah.
No, well, kind of and not.
Well, I mean,
Well,
because
he
he's
was
brainwashed.
He was
I see what you're saying. I
brainwashed,
see what
but
you're saying.
like, yeah, but he's still.
Hey, he who smelt it dealt it, okay?
Yeah.
True.
But even just in that one moment between Cap and Tony, where he's like, "I'm sorry, Tony. He's my best friend. So was I." Beautifully written, so very simple, and it's all about this personal conflict that is then forced onto all these other people.
Yeah.
Like we have this background thing of the government wants to place tighter restrictions on heroes and superpowered people and people with advanced technology, and I understand that, but it is all about Cap is willing to do anything to protect his friend, even if it will get other people killed, which is insane.
It's almost, if you look at the trailer, they almost kind of pitch it like Cap is almost the bad guy, and
He
in some
is.
ways, because he's and there's so many people are like, hey man, do you really want this to come down to punching?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's
No, and it's
risking
not-
people's lives.
But you
for
like
this.
you root for him, but this, you're listening to it. You're listening to everyone's like points, and you're like, he's wrong.
Well,
yeah.
but
He's wrong. He's right.
He's wrong. He's right, and it's cool because it makes Captain America a more complex character, which is interesting. And I was also kind of surprised with the trailer that it was very Cap Falcon centric. It felt like a lot around them, which is cool because I'm worried about them getting lost in their own movie. I'm still a little bit worried about the like. There's a lot of
people. I feel like they're just going to be kind of called in. Basically,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, and here they come, and now they're gone. Okay.
And I also hope you talk about the interpersonal stuff. I hope that goes down the line, because part of what made the comic special was all these people being divided. And so you've got Black Widow on one side and Hawkeye on the other side, which I have no idea. Their sides don't make any sense to me. What relationship does Hawkeye have with Cap at all? But anyway,
He has a relationship with Black Widow.
but why? So why is Hawkeye on Cap's side?
Oh,
As opposed-
on Cap's side?
And Black Widow's on Iron Man's side.
and hopefully they kind of dive into that. Yeah.
But Hawkeye and Black Widow's relationship is one of the few actually well sketched out relationships, and so seeing that division, hopefully we get a little bit of Scarlet Witch and Vision before everything goes to shit, so you get a sense of their rapport before they're split apart.
I know why. It's because Hawkeye knows what it's like to be brainwashed. He doesn't
That's
want
true.
He doesn't want Bucky to have
That's
to pay
actually-
for things that he didn't actually intend to do,
That
and he
actually makes a lot of
understands
sense.
Cap's motivation entirely.
And I'd like, there's a little hint of it in the trailer. I'd like to see them dive into the divide between Cap and Black Widow, because they have a really cool relationship.
They do.
and they will, and they showed it off in the trailer.
In the trailer,
too.
yeah. So hopefully, if they dive into those aspects, this could be amazing.
It could be. I just. Also, wait, Baron Zemo is supposed to be in this movie as well. So where in the world would he fit
If you look at the police that are raiding the building at the beginning, they're German police.
Police.
Which I kind of hope this doesn't go like, oh, the Germans are the bad guys. Like
They're
seems
not
a little
the bad
reductive.
guys.
Yeah,
I think they're just in Germany.
yeah, that's what I hope it is.
Yeah.
But also, one of the villains is Baron Zemo.
But
You know?
wait, why
Zemo
is he,
is
why is he a
Zemo
villain?
German?
Yes, he was
Yeah.
part of the Nazi. Like
Okay.
every Cat villain, he's a Nazi.
But wait, why is he even in it? Why is
I don't know.
he? Yeah,
And
that's what-
Crossbones is in it too.
Crossbones. Okay, no, but Crossbones.
And
the way they
Thunderbolt
talked
Ross.
about it.
That's exciting. We haven't seen him since Incredible
Well,
Hulk.
somebody, Brett in the editing office brought up the point, like, what if he becomes Red Hulk in this? And it's like, that'd be an interesting, like, because I have a feeling, unlike Civil War, it's going to be like Iron Man and Cap fight, and then the bad guy, and so like let's deal with our issues to stop the bad guy.
I don't want that. I don't want that. That's like, but they've done that before. What I was trying to say was that Crossbones can be used in the beginning as like a start of the conflict, and Thunderbolt Ross is kind of a way of just antagonizing, kind of like pissing people off. But then there's Baron Zemo, who's just gonna be there and be bad guy.
He also might be connected to Winter Soldier. Somebody's been running Winter Soldier.
I would argue
he's in
that's exactly what he is.
And so maybe they need to find Baron Zemo to get
and to get the proof that Bucky was under mind
similar
control.
to stuff we're going to talk about in Jessica Jones.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Oh god.
It's all about proof.
Yeah.
Well.
And also, it was interesting to see Scarlet Witch was on Cap's side, which suddenly makes that all those jokes they were saying about like Iron Man's side being overpowered seem a little. It's like, oh, it's a little more even.
No,
Yeah.
you literally have a god.
Yeah.
So you have someone who can warp
No,
reality.
she's on Cap's side because of. I mean, we talked about it once on this show. So I don't, or did we? I don't know. There are rumors about the first act of the movie that explain why she would be on Cap's.
No, but no, they explained it in Age of Ultron. She does not like Tony.
And also-
no matter what, she does
that
not
too.
like
I
Tony.
think the interesting is based on those conversations we had before, and because she wasn't in the pictures, we assumed something happened to Scarlet Witch that took her out of the game.
I'm
Yeah.
glad
And it
that
looks like
she's-
that's not the case.
I'm glad. She doesn't need to be taken out. She just
Yeah.
let her be there. Not weird Fox,
Yeah.
Marvel rights, whatever. Just let her be there and be cool.
Yeah, and it appears that in his quest to save his best friend, Cap F's up Tony's best friend, Rhodey, down for the count.
His arc reactor's missing, so it kind of looks like Bucky did it. Because he was going for Tony's as well. So, like, maybe Bucky messing up to give Tony even more reasons to go
make
after
it personal
Bucky.
for him.
And that final little fight sequence was awesome.
It looks a little cheesy.
The
but I don't think it's
CGI
finished.
is a little rough.
I don't care. I love
but
it.
it looked mean. It looked mean.
He looked
They were
mean.
beating the shit out of Iron Man. Yeah. Oh, man, I hope they, like... Oh, that's spoilers, so I will keep my mouth shut. But there's a scene from the Civil War comic that's really cool between Captain America and Iron Man, and Cap is winning.
Yeah,
I
it seems
also-
like the people who hate this trailer the most are the people who are hoping it would be like the Civil War
Which
comic.
it can't be.
No,
would
and
have
and
to
it
know
won't
it.
be.
And why would you want it to be? Why would you want... I
do
want
wish,
something original.
I do wish maybe they saved this type of story further down the road where we didn't have the Avengers already fighting each other in every movie. And when the relationship is developed more and there's more characters in the universe to have it affect them. But I don't think this is going to be resolved. Like, you don't want them to have to stop Zemo at the end. I feel like it's pretty safe to say that their relationship is not going to be fixed until Infinity War. Like, everybody's going to be divided until
Totally.
Infinity War.
And one last thing, Marvel, please, don't show us Spider-Man until the movie.
I said that in the video I put out today, Wednesday. You can go watch it.
They zoomed in on a
Yeah,
guy
and
with like
somebody
a red
saying,
sweater.
Yeah, somebody said they found Spider-Man already in the trailer. It's just a dude in a shirt.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
a dude in a
Stop.
shirt.
Stop.
Yeah.
Please don't ask for it. Don't spoil it. We don't want to see. You shouldn't want to see Spider-Man.
Also, I have no idea how he's supposed to fit in this movie.
I don't
Especially
know
with
either.
the way
That's what I
the
mean.
conflict has changed from the comics. Why would Spider-Man even get involved at all?
Wait, how is really quick? What is the name of the bird that helps out Falcon in the comics?
Red Wing.
Red Wing. And that's a drone that's supposed to be in this movie, and I
Yeah.
really wish we got to see that, but we'll get
Yeah.
to see it in the movie, and that'll be really cool.
And I hope he actually gets a real Falcon.
You want a real?
goofy.
It's not a real
I
Falcon.
know,
It would be great
I know
if it
it's a
was,
drone,
though.
but I'd like
Yeah.
the real Falcon.
All right. Let's. Do we have any other big points on this? I mean,
No.
obviously we're all excited.
Yeah.
Just check out my full video. I did a full breakdown for you kids.
Ooh boy.
Oh boy.
Ooh, boy.
Yeah. And that movie comes out in May, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Ugh,
This
can't get
this
here
next
fast
year,
enough.
Batman v Superman. A lot of heroes fighting each other. Batman v Superman.
Yep.
Then Deadpool. Captain America: Civil War. Apocalypse.
Suicide Squad and Doctor
Suicide
Strange.
Squad.
We're gonna have
and
a
Doctor
busy
Strange is this
summer,
year, too?
boys. Yeah.
In the fall,
It's-
and then
I think it's
and then
yeah,
Daredevil
November.
season 2.
And Luke
Luke Cage.
Yeah,
Little much.
We have
Yeah.
a busy year ahead of us, gentlemen.
Yep.
And Krypton on Sci-Fi. Wow.
Speaking of
Wow.
Krypton,
yay.
let's talk about Supergirl.
I like this episode.
I thought this episode was fine.
Yeah.
It was a
I-
boilerplate episode.
Yeah, I liked last episode more.
Yes.
And
And I mean, that one was supposed to air after this one,
Yeah.
which makes sense in the
it's
quality of the
building.
writing.
I think it's cool because I think I was reading some stuff that pointed out that you don't really get this type of superhero action anyplace else. Like the old school classic,
oh, shit,
holding
that
up
makes
a
so much more
building,
sense. Okay.
laser eyes to like the stuff she's doing is classic superhero 101 stuff.
Golden age
and we've never been
superhero.
really able to see that on TV. Like this is the first Superman type show where you actually get to see somebody doing the stuff you want Superman to see him doing.
Yeah, God, that makes so much more sense now because last episode, James went off with
Lucy.
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving, but then they came back and there was a conflict now, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't.
No, it was this
was
episode was
poor-
supposed to air before.
They should have maybe
and
cleared that up.
Yeah,
a little.
they flipped it because of the Paris incident and everything.
Yeah,
with
because there was all
bombs.
these
Oh.
bombings and
Smart.
Yeah.
I mean, that makes sense. Okay, that's why, because they. All right.
it's a classic.
Everything's catching up now.
Yeah, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was interesting. I thought I'm a little shaky on Maxwell Lord. I thought his stuff with Alex was really good.
Mm-hmm.
I thought his stuff at the end, like he was acting with a capital A. Like I'm not a huge fan of the. This is my like you're. It's too much. Tone it back a little bit. You can.
I liked it. I mean, like, not the overacting. I mean, I didn't notice it that
Yeah.
much. I liked Maxwell Lord has been my favorite part of the show thus far. Him and the sister. I
Yeah.
like them a lot. The motivation
I like the
behind
I
the
like
whole
the
episode.
romantic sparks
between them,
Yeah.
especially now that they're really positioning Maxwell Lord as like the Lex Luthor of this show, and the fact that it's kind of like the Blaine situation with Peyton.
Yeah.
and so
I really hope that once Supergirl clues her sister into what's going on between her and Maxwell Lord,
Yeah.
that whatever the relationship between Alex and Maxwell Lord kind of turns into her trying to spy on him and that getting dangerous. Like
Yeah.
that to me could really add some nice heft to the back half
and
of
almost
season
her
one.
trying to spy on him to prove that he's not bad.
Yeah.
Like, I want to prove to my sister he's not bad.
Ooh, I don't
'Cause
know
I
about
like him.
that because he's pretty clearly bad.
Yeah.
So at least in front of Supergirl,
yeah.
like in front of
And
Supergirl,
Supergirl,
he
no, he's
basically
bad, but
admits
he's
it.
also a dick.
Yeah.
Just a plain dick
Look,
the whole time.
I'll say this in terms of like acting and captivating this. Peter Facinelli is not Tom Cavanaugh. He's
Yeah.
not
No.
Harrison Wells. He's not
True.
that quality of villain.
We talked a little bit about this before. Because we're kind of all on the same page that Supergirl is of the same strength of Arrow and Flash. When they started, I would say Flash is on, or Supergirl's on par with Flash this season because this season's a little bit shaky right at the moment.
I wouldn't
I
say
wouldn't
that.
go that
Let me put it
far.
this way:
Yeah.
I am enjoying Supergirl more this season than I'm enjoying Flash.
I will say that I am enjoying I'm enjoying Flash slightly more, but it is not like I was last
Yeah.
Last season,
and
and hopefully that'll change as we get. And
Yeah.
it might be a similar problem with Flash in that the central antagonist in Supergirl is not as strong as Reverse Flash was, or
So
even
good.
Damien Dark is in Arrow.
Yeah.
Or Death. And a lot of people said that last week as far as Zoom went, and I was like, I don't know if it matters that much. And as we talk about Supergirl, I was like, maybe having that strong central antagonist really does benefit these shows.
Because then, what are they supposed to be doing? Like, it's a superhero show.
Well-
Sadly, it needs to have that.
It needs stakes,
Yeah.
and you can't have stakes without a compelling villain who feels like a threat.
I also do think I like one thing I like about Supergirl that Flash isn't as strong on this season is the themes I think are not as strong as I'd like them to be, but are stronger episode to episode. And this episode trying to balance her day-to-day life, while mundane, it gave the episode a stronger through line where it's like
I like
Flash
that
is like he's running around fighting villains and like, oh Flash, did you learn your lesson about asking that girl out? Like that was what we were supposed to get out of this episode. Like, what the hell? Like, I find Supergirl stronger in that aspect, even if it's the overall connective tissue maybe touching on more mundane stuff. I like that. I like that they ground her in more personal relationship stuff.
Yeah,
and it's not all just about itself.
It feels, as a show right now, it feels simpler. And we've never
Yeah.
seen an example of the show reaching the height of its powers, which I would argue that Flash did in the back half of its first
Definitely,
season.
especially
Yeah.
because you had Mark Hamill as
Right.
prankster, you had Grodd, you had the finale.
Right.
Like it really
Trickster.
hit. Trickster, yeah.
yeah.
It
Oh,
really
and
hit.
and God, the time travel episode.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Amazing.
Once all those pieces started falling into place, it really.
Which is why I think you're enjoying Supergirl in its first steps more than you're enjoying Flash this season, because all you can see of the Flash is the ghost of its better self.
Yeah.
Versus Supergirl still finding its way. I think it'll be a while before our audience will consider it to be a good or great show.
Yeah.
But I'll say what I said about the pilot. All of the building blocks are there. It's all about refinement.
Really quick, sorry, Hank Henshaw. I need to talk about him. Like,
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, so he's got like red eyes. He's got something mechanical, I'm guessing, about him.
That's what.
right?
Is he cyborg Superman or not?
He's got
I
like
don't know,
he's like a
like,
robot or something.
Yeah, well, or he's an alien. We don't know.
He's an alien.
If it's based on
and
his
they
comic
apparently
thing,
killed
it's
their
robotic.
dad.
Maybe.
I personally like the actor. I like that every time he speaks, he has this little lilt of a "fuck you" in there. No matter what words he's saying, what he's really saying is "fuck you."
Yeah,
I kind of like that.
Like he rips open the bombs. He's got super strength,
Yeah.
and like he does something. But like, why would you come out and say it's a dud?
Yeah.
Why you're an agent? I could have bought that you diffused it.
Yeah.
I could have bought that. Why did you lie? And now you have this like kind of dumb plot point where like, why would you have a kill switch in a fake bomb? It's like.
What I don't understand.
That didn't make sense, but how that played off into her realizing that the guy Knox also had a kill switch, and the way that
Played out with
the first
Maxwell Lord
the first few
was
steps
good.
that get there, not great. What it resulted in something at least kind of
The end
interesting.
justified
that-
the means.
there you go.
I don't know
Yeah.
about
But
that.
I
but
don't
they
understand.
No,
He
no.
literally ripped that bomb open, like he crumpled up the plating. Wouldn't, when you come out and be like, wait a second, weren't we not able to open that?
And
See,
also,
he
wouldn't that
crumpled
set
it,
it
but then he
off?
put it back on.
Oh, he put it back on.
He put
so
it back on, yeah.
I'm sorry.
Smoothed it out.
He smoothed it out
back.
and turned it back into a perfect
it's like when you take a
sheet
dollar
of
out and you
rounded
rub it on
metal,
your leg.
and then
Yeah.
melted
I
it
wish we
back
would've seen
together.
that.
Yeah, like
All good.
shit.
All good.
You
And
know,
he, like
like
spits
you
on it and
do.
puts it back on.
And yeah, I think
smear.
maybe that's
Yeah.
part of what I am responding to is the potential of the show. I love the potential of the show, especially as a Superman fan.
I think that's really, you see a lot more potential because you are a Superman fan and
Yeah.
you know what they can do with the character. As a person who is now getting into comics and now getting into Superman, it's still rough. It's still
I feel-
pretty rough to
we're
get
we're
through.
over a half an
Yes,
hour into
yeah.
the show, so final points on Supergirl, and
Yeah.
then we got to move on to Jessica
But
Jones.
also not just that I'm a Superman fan. I'm a fan of these creators of Flash and Arrow, and so I have faith that.
But Ali
these things-
Adler, the showrunner, is neither of those. She was the showrunner on The New Normal and an executive producer on Glee. Like, she's not the same team. She has access to that brain trust, but she's running this show.
And the genes feel similar to me. At this point, it reminds me a lot of when Arrow was starting up and when Flash was starting up, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Okay, fair enough.
All right.
Okay, let's talk about Jessica Jones. No spoilers, broad strokes. How do we feel about it?
Great, watch it.
Okay, you want to give a rating right now?
Yeah, let's give our
rating right
ratings.
now. What would you guys say? What would you
Out
guys
of
say?
10?
Out of 10.
Out of 10, I gave it a 9 out of 10. It's excellent. I think it's one of the best things Marvel's ever put out, Marvel Entertainment. It's the high watermark for their television series.
Oh, yes.
It's mature. It's very well crafted. The characters are excellent. There are a few side plots that never quite gel, and that's the only reason why it comes down from a 10 for me. I just think it's very, very well produced, and it's made me more excited for Marvel than just about anything they've put out in the last few
Yeah,
years.
and I'll give it a 9.5 out of 10. I'm very close. The only thing is, we will get into it, and it's not spoilers, the neighbors.
Yeah.
And
Neighbors.
Simpson the cop.
Yeah.
His stuff doesn't really make a lot of sense.
And a few janky fights.
Those
the
didn't really bother
fighting.
me, those, but again, I'm also a
didn't
fan of Supergirl, so
Yeah.
No, I thought the fights, like, besides like some of the final fights, it was a little rough. But no, overall, it was so refreshing. Like, it was attached to the MCU, and the only way they ever showed that it was attached was Daredevil references and one reference to the Avengers first movie. That's
Yeah.
all they had to do,
Yeah.
and they moved on past it. It was great, and everyone was so strong in it.
Yeah.
Never a weak link.
Also, except maybe the neighbors.
Yeah, neighbors.
9 out of 10 for me too. I think it's one of the best written shows we've watched for this. Definitely from Marvel. I think the characters are the most complex
Yeah.
we've probably seen. I think if you take it as a whole, I would argue that some of the shows we watch have had better episodes or arcs. But as a overall season, this might be the strongest show that we've watched for this show.
I agree.
Yeah,
I was
Overall,
really
overall,
trying to
think of everything we reviewed, Arrow last season was pretty rough.
Yeah.
Flash had its problems.
And again, Flash
Constantine.
might have had an episode or two that we liked more than any given episode of Jessica Jones, but I think overall, it's definitely one of the most consistently strong, not just consistently not awful, like consistently like really strong.
And it's like you look at this and you look at something like Daredevil, which had 2 showrunners in its first season. It had one showrunner who departed, Drew Goddard, and then another showrunner, I believe it was Stephen S. DeKnight, stepped in. And you can see that disconnect. There's not a clear vision for the whole series. So you have all this fire right up top. The first 5 episodes are really, really strong, and then it just kind of peters out.
Yeah.
And you get some like cool details, but it never quite recaptures that magic. With this show, you can really see how beautifully the season is structured in terms of its reveals, in terms of its twists, and how the series functions. Like, and then you have Kilgrave as a villain who arguably is the best villain that has been portrayed in the MCU, the best villain that has been written in the MCU so far.
Arguable.
It is.
Would
the
any-
fact. I mean, like
yeah,
Ward,
would-
we
would-
brought up.
Oh, that's
Ward.
right. Yeah, Ward is pretty good, but
But
I mean,
he's not.
Ward is pretty great. Loki has that Shakespearean level drama to him.
And I think another thing with Loki is it's personal for him, as opposed to a lot of villains where it's like I'm the bad guy.
And
Like,
some people really love Kingpin, and I think Kingpin on the page is better than the Kingpin we got.
Yeah. I got a tweet here actually from Oscar Tinoco. He wrote, "Best Marvel TV show ever. Each character had something to add to the story. We all lost hope. Get it? Superhero Roundup, 9.5 out of 10. Not bad, Oscar.
Not bad. I liked your pun, boy.
What else can we say that's not spoiler?
That's not spoilery.
Yeah.
watch it. Just watch it.
Yeah,
What
I
are
mean,
you doing? Watch it.
yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah.
Like you can, it's not a superhero show.
Not really.
Not
I
really.
love the way they handle. She has superpowers. That's
Yeah.
not a spoiler. She has superpowers, but the way they use them until like later episodes, it's used sparingly. It's
There's-
used as an extension of getting her job done.
One episode in the middle that feels very superhero to me, almost to its detriment, just because it doesn't feel like the same tone as everything else. But
Yeah.
other than that,
Which episode was that?
It was probably episode 5. It's the one where they first really interact with Kilgrave.
I'll tell you when
We'll
we
get
the
into
spoilers.
it, and then when I have a question, I'll answer it. But yeah, I very much appreciated how they handled their superpowers, and they waited to deal with them later too.
For me, I appreciate. I am a big genre fan. I love action movies. I love sci-fi. I love horror, and I like it when, especially a sci-fi or genre TV show, takes the extra steps to connect the dots.
Yes.
And not just say, a good example, Arrow last week. It was a very strong episode of Arrow. I really enjoyed it. But like, they discovered Diggle's brother. He's the one guy. They finally get one ghost separated from the rest of the group, and it just so happens to be Diggle's brother.
Of course. Wow.
There are no,
Yeah.
there are no coincidences on this show. If something feels like a coincidence or feels off, they do explain it.
Yeah, there's very few cutting of corners.
Yeah, Melissa Rosenberg is so good at her job. She never allows the audience to ask a question that she can't answer.
Yeah.
And there's like one question that a lot of people asked us on Twitter, and it does get answered by the end of the show, and ultimately makes sense. And it's like, oh, I feel like an idiot for not figuring that out.
Yeah.
It's just really smartly structured. Every single character, even the characters that we weren't crazy about, are really well fleshed out.
Yeah.
Like you can really tell that they have a life outside of what we're seeing.
Yeah.
I like that.
And it makes for a more fun watch. Nothing feels flimsy. Nothing feels papery. It's a PI show first and foremost. It's very personal. That's really my chief concern.
For everybody.
Yeah, for everybody.
Yeah.
And that's
Everybody.
really my chief concern going into season 2,
If there is one.
if there is one.
Ooh,
yeah.
Actually, there was a story I read. I didn't report on it, but the showrunner,
Melissa Rosenberg.
Yes, she said that she wants to do a second season. Everybody's on board to do a second season, but contractually, they need to get a Defenders season out before they
Yeah.
get to a season 2 of Jessica Jones, which is fine. It's fine. But if they feel committed to it, I would like a second season. I would be worried.
I would much rather have a second season of Jessica Jones than the Defenders.
Then the Defenders.
I want the Defenders, especially after Jessica Jones, because we see a few of those characters interact, and it's great.
Yeah,
yeah.
the other crazy thing that was in that interview with the Hollywood Reporter, which you should totally read, it's a 2-part interview, is how little contact the showrunners of these Netflix shows have with each other. She read one Daredevil script before she started putting together the writer's room of Jessica Jones, and the showrunner of Luke Cage has, to her knowledge, not seen any of Jessica Jones.
That's
That
crazy.
is weird.
Which is weird because, she's introducing the character, and the character as we know him is this.
Yeah.
So you're
and
going to
it's so cool. If you're a
redevelop.
Luke Cage
Oh
fan,
yeah,
get
Luke
excited.
Cage is done justice. I had a friend of mine hit me up on Twitter, and he was like, "Oh, he's so wooden, blah blah blah."
What are you talking about?
Yeah, he didn't like him in the early episodes, and I was like, just keep watching. Like, I really enjoyed Luke Cage on screen. Okay, I mean, do we feel good? Have we serviced the people who haven't seen it?
9.5, 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know what else to tell you if you're not watching it right now.
Yeah.
And a lot of people said, oh, you don't have all the fight scenes like Daredevil. It's like, that's not the point of the show.
Yeah, this
PI
isn't an
show.
action show. This isn't a superhero show. This is a detective show, and it's a damn good one. Yeah. Okay. So breaking this wide open, spoilers if you haven't seen Jessica Jones. We came up with some topics just to focus our discussion.
Yeah.
And we all have some like top favorite moments of the show. So Sam, we'll start with you.
Yes, for me, we picked some top 3 moments. Mine were all of Jessica's clever moments. I know that's cheating, but like when it came to Kilgrave putting his spell on people, his superpower,
Why did they use that song? I put a spell on you somewhere in that
Did they?
show.
They didn't-
They
they
did,
didn't.
but
'Cause
how
of
great would it have been?
money.
Yeah, it's true.
But I love that she was so quick to figure out a way to get whoever had been Kilgraved out of it. Like
Put the bullet in your mouth.
Put a bullet in your mouth,
There's
or
a
like
bullet in your head.
you have to kill Trish.
Yeah.
She's dead.
Yeah.
She's dead. She's dead. She's dead, and she just happened to be brought back to life.
No.
You did your job. That's
Yeah.
it. Love that. Real quick. Oh, I love how they did they would spin predictable plot points, like Luke Cage, Jessica's trying to cover up the fact that she killed Luke Cage's wife, and but Luke Cage shows up in time, but you didn't know that she just had a file that the driver was drunk of the bus, and that's why the car flipped.
Yeah.
And I was like, I love that. And like when we thought that she was going to go to a Supermax prison,
Yeah.
trick, Kilgrave's inside
I
of the
was so
precinct
excited
already.
for that Supermax prison.
Which
You
would have
were
Unfortunately-
almost, I would say, too excited. I
You
did
were
not like that
so
episode very
excited.
much.
Except for the precinct part.
Yeah,
was.
the precinct part was great, but everything that led up to it felt so artificial. That was like one of the weak points of the season for me.
And then my third point is I really like in the first episode the Rear Window-esque scene where she's sitting on the fire escape and she's looking window to window at everybody and she's analyzing everybody.
which is apparently taken directly from the comics.
Oh, it is. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I went and looked. Like even the part where she's on the toilet, you know,
Yeah.
in the first episode, exactly what happens. in
That's
the
great.
comic. Yeah, I love those. Are my 3 favorite parts. They're kind of general, but
Yeah. So DJ, you loved that. Oh, you
okay.
want to hear mine first?
Yes.
Okay. So,
DJ7, the good
so
ones.
one of my favorite things, first of all, just like Kilgrave. David Tennant knocks it out of the fucking park. But the moments for me that really crush it are his like reversals, like when Jessica leaves the room, or like when he's finally alone and he uses his powers for evil, like when they're leaving the house in episode 8 and he turns to the chefs and he's like, if we're not back in 2 hours, cut your faces off.
really quick, I got a tweet that actually applies to that.
Oh, yeah?
Someone wrote, Eric at Spirited Alone 16. He said, when Jessica says, you heard that? Kilgrave said, I wrote it. Surprise, when talking about that Luke Cage was under the spell the entire time.
Yeah.
Which also explains why Luke Cage left at the end, because he had not actually forgiven her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
so good.
Like everything fits. I love those moments, like when he gets out of the the chamber,
chamber, yeah.
hyperbaric chamber, and he immediately tells Trish, put a bullet in your head.
Yeah, and
yeah.
unfortunately, she's out of rounds at that
Thankfully.
point.
Unfortunate.
Yeah,
Cut out your
but
own
it's
heart,
like
Dad.
it's these sudden reversals. It's so quick and so chilling and devilish. It's so awesome. The bar fight with Jessica and Luke, where they
Yes.
first see each other's powers for the first time, is like really great. Luke Cage's like frustration with the dude stabbing him with the bottle, just, and then just starts beating on him. Awesome.
And it's also super believable. You got to imagine if 2 people had superpowers and already had chemistry.
Yeah.
And then they see that and it's like, we're going to get down.
Yeah,
tonight.
well, that too. Like when she's first like really exploring his body and the unbreakable skin, it
Yeah.
was like really sexy. They hadn't even had sex yet, and I would argue that the sex scenes weren't great.
Yeah.
But this moment where she's realizing this is like the one man I can use all of my strength on and he'll be okay is sexy.
Yeah.
It's like just like watching these 2 people vibe on each other. Really, really cool.
And I think it also plays into everybody in the cast has good chemistry with each other.
Yes.
There's even a scene where Mike Coulter's with David Tennant, and even for one scene, and even they have good chemistry together.
I'm glad they had a scene together.
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
It's
that
a
was-
bummer.
Yeah.
God, it's a bummer. Sorry. Yeah. we'll get to
And
that.
then when Kilgrave turns the entire hospital against Jessica,
Yes.
is really scary. Just it feels
Really
like
scary.
a real threat. You
And
know?
like things like the way they like he just violates her entire life. Like even the photos that
On
she
every level.
uses,
On
yeah,
every level.
she uses photos to try to save Malcolm. He keeps the photos and uses them as a example for people to go and kill her later in the episode.
Yep.
For
Crazy.
me, my favorite moments is I really liked the throwdown. The other cool thing about the show is we talk about things that we're watching, like, oh, you know, it'd be really cool to see if we saw this, and almost all of them happened.
Yeah.
Minus Supermax.
Minus Supermax, but again, the payoff of that episode was really great, and that was one of my favorite moments. Is when she comes out at the police precinct and all the cops have their gun at each other, and this is the first time we see them interact.
Her and Kilgrave.
Her and Kilgrave interact in like the present after she's escaped. And the other one for me was when she throws down with Luke Cage, because that was a very like so much in the show was very emotionally fraught, because she's trying to defend herself. Luke is under somebody's mind control, but he also probably still, again, we find out really hasn't forgiven her, and so they're both dealing with that. And it was also a really cool fight. Like he reaches through the wall to grab her and stuff like that. And I think that's one of the
So
things.
cool.
Like, even if the like, it wasn't as intricate as the Daredevil fights.
Yeah.
I'm still a sucker. The fact that I'm watching a TV show where people are getting punched through walls has the comic book fan in me like, oh, this is amazing. We never got this before. And I also really liked most of the stuff. Pretty much everything in the house when they go back to Jessica's childhood home, but specifically with the neighbor,
Yeah.
because I think they did something really.
Oh, the bombing! Such a
Oh,
great
yeah, but I
moment.
I wanted to
even
put it in
before
there,
then,
but I
is-
didn't know if you guys were gonna grab it. So yeah.
when the neighbor's being a bitch and Kilgrave calls her on it, and it does something very interesting, where, in the broader sense, it's very easy to hate Kilgrave because he's a monster. In the moment when you're interacting with him, it's kind of hard to hate him because he's David Tennant.
Yeah.
And I saw some people pointing out how that's very much how abusive relationships work. That's why people stay in abusive relationships, because
Yeah.
in the moment they're not awful.
You can see the person they could be.
And it's basically the way I've described Kilgrave to people is like if you took a date rape drug, made it sentient, and gave it David Tennant's charm and charisma.
Exactly.
And
Yeah,
if
it
that
is what
sounds
it
like a
is.
waking nightmare, that's
It
what
is,
Kilgrave is.
Yeah. Oh, and I have to say, I love that they actually deal with. I want to get into like my favorite, like strongest episodes in our opinion. Episode 8, what would Jessica do?
Yeah, I think
When-
we all agree that that's the best episode of the
they
season.
deal
I don't know if I'd say it's for me, it's hard to remember
They're starting to
individual
blur together,
episodes.
yeah.
Because we watched it all in
Well,
a day.
I
but
read
that
it-
was a really strong
I
episode.
read an article that was all about how shows made for streaming services and by that extent also HBO are not really making episodes. They're making one season with like multiple chapters, and they're all kind of interchangeable. It's just sort of like where can scenes go.
Yeah.
And the reason why I think like episode 8 and episode 9 are so strong in this season is they are the most self-contained.
Oh yes.
Like they're
And 9
both
is where
is
he's
the
in the
hyperbaric chamber.
and
Yeah.
when he escapes.
Yeah.
To me, I like those the least because they felt almost too heightened. Like
Really?
the hyperbaric chamber was a cool. Was one of the few ways you'd actually be able to stop him. But like people started walking into this high tech lab, and nobody stopped for a second, and be like, "Where the hell has this been in New York?" Like nobody was weirded out about this existing in their world.
Right.
Like it's one thing if you're on Agents of Shield and you have a glass prison because you live in a world of glass prisons.
No, they described it as a CDC facility. That's why it's not that weird.
The reason exists makes sense. The fact that Hogarth, the lawyer,
True.
she walks in there and she's not weirded out about it, like. Just somebody being like, or Clemens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Clemens.
Le-
yeah.
Clemens is a little too relaxed about it.
Yeah, and they walk in like, oh yeah, this is a thing that I interact with on my day to day.
I could forgive it.
I forgive it
it's
too.
nitpicking because the show's so good. It's just that's one of the few things that stood out.
But
to
I
me.
like what would Jessica do because what I thought was going to happen was that in the comic they have to deal with rape because what he does to her is rape, even though he will not say it and he does not see it that way. That's what it is, and she just comes out and says it, and it's used throughout the rest of the season. It's like, you raped me, and he's like, oh, I hate that word. It's like, well, you did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what you did. You did that to her, and the showrunner wasn't scared. They just came out and said it and said it and said it and said it.
Yeah, and it's another interesting thing that the show didn't really pull punches. Like usually when you have mind control people, they go just short of what you'd be afraid somebody would do. Kilgrave does exactly what you'd be afraid somebody with that power would do.
Even more.
Yeah.
Even more. Things I would never think of.
Yeah.
Like to cut your faces off if I don't come back in 2 hours.
But then also they have the brilliance of this character is that they explore the other side of it with his parents, where it's just sort of like, I was a scared kid. I didn't know what my powers were. I didn't know that I could do that. Like when he had his mother iron her own face, he was just a kid having a temper tantrum who happens to have the power to make anyone do anything.
That's one of the things that was so, a lot of times when they try to make a villain or even a hero, like this one thing happened, and that was the thing that set them off to become, and that's just not how life works.
No.
And with this, that like Kilgrave is a monster, and then you meet him, and he's like, look at this video where they're experimenting on me. And you're like, you're still a monster, but I can have empathy for you.
Yeah.
And then the parents come in and be like, we were trying to help him, and you're like, that bastard. And then you again hear his perspective, and then it gets to a point where you're like, listen, they made mistakes. You made mistakes. All of you kind of deserve to die. I'm just done with it. I'm just done. It became just a very damaged situation and a self-perpetuating machine that created a monster. And and it's interesting because David Tennant's so good that I think he captures that. He never really left that petulant 10-year-old that always got what he wants.
No, he didn't.
There's still that boyish, like selfish. Everything is about him.
Oh, also favorite moment is when he's buying the house, because you see him. That's when you start to feel for him a little bit, because he can say whatever he wants, and if he says something specifically, he can make anyone do whatever he wants. In that, he chooses his words so carefully that it makes it so the person he negotiates with someone instead of making him give him the house.
He knows how easily he could get it, but he wants to do it the right way.
He wants to earn it, even though it's not his money.
Yeah.
That is not his money.
Which, very cool seeing him in the poker room.
Right. Oh, say, try to put your head through this post? Or no, put your head through this post.
See how long it takes you to put your head through this post.
That was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, a nightmare.
Yeah, let's talk. We'll bring up weakest points in a second. I want to talk characters. Sam, favorite character?
I mean, David Tennant's a given.
Sure.
Jessica Jones, given. Luke Cage, given. But for me, overall, out of the supporting cast, I really like Hellcat. I like Trish.
Yeah,
she was
Trish
so
was
strong,
really
and I
good.
liked when they dove into her backstory. I said that earlier. When they got to talk about how like horrible her mother is.
Yeah.
Horrible. She's a horrible human being. Almost, she is like Kilgrave, except with the superpowers.
Kilgrave is the villain, but there are a bunch of people that are kind of they're just not good people. Like
Jerry,
Hogarth is not a good person. The mom
terrible.
is not a good person.
Yeah.
That was really interesting.
Yeah, no. So Trish, like seeing her be like standing up for herself, like her relationship with Simpson before it started to get weird, like was cool. And even when she like got into fights and like felt horrible for fucking them up because she's a normal person.
Yeah, it was almost like Laurel's plotline, but not annoying.
No, it wasn't annoying, but she also had stuff to do too.
Yeah.
Like she wasn't just like there hanging out.
Yeah. I also big fan of Kilgrave and Trish and Luke. I felt like
so
everybody was grounded in realistic motivations.
Yeah.
I love how they interacted with each other. I want to give a special shout out to just like Jessica and Trish's relationship. It's just great to see women care about each other and not let dudes come between them on television, because it's so often that they fall into this like weird trap where women hate each other or are only talking about men. So that was really great. I loved, even though they're bad people, Hogarth and Pam together. I loved their sex scene was not gratuitous. That it was just this very simple thing of her like shoving her hand up her skirt, and it's like this powerful woman. All of a sudden, you realize, oh no, Pam is kind of in charge right now. And it was hot and very simple.
It was cool.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sam, right after you watched it, that was cool.
They gotta like take a breath. You're like, wow, that was really bad. That was really cool.
That was real cool, huh? That was cool.
But I think all the principles are really interesting, complex. I think some of the periphery characters, not so much.
And that's like on the fringe.
Fringe.
The fringe, yeah.
Even I think of the principles, the weakest of the principles is probably Simpson. But even if you get down to it, his motivation makes sense. He's the alpha male, the guy that would typically in a series like this be the good guy.
Yeah.
Who again got mind raped by Kilgrave and is in the rest of the series is desperately trying to get control back.
Really desperate.
Yeah. But with you guys, same with you, Kilgrave. I really like Luke Cage. He's one of my favorite Marvel characters, and I was really worried. I was worried, and he's great, and I'm so excited for his show. You know, a weird one is actually Claire. Her
Night Nurse.
placement in the series was kind of weird. If you have never
Very
watched,
late in the show.
yeah, if you've only watched Jessica Jones and haven't watched Daredevil, like who is this person and why are we spending so much time with her in the last episode? But I almost feel like she came across better in Jessica Jones than in Daredevil. Like I
would
liked
agree.
Claire more.
Kind of.
Yeah.
It was because she was so weird. She was used so strangely in Daredevil
I'll
because
say
she would
it's-
appear and disappear, and like
Yeah.
even when they said like she was there, they didn't show her for some reason. Yeah.
Guys, it's also because all the women on this show are really well-written characters, and on Daredevil, they're not.
I have to point out that like not once would you ever. No one ever said this, and it was never a thought that she couldn't do something, Jessica, because she was a woman. And Supergirl says that a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't
hammer
have to
that.
say it.
They
She
don't
just
have to.
punches them in the dick.
Yeah.
And they go flying through 3 buildings.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that it wasn't. That wasn't even a. That didn't need to be a plot point ever.
And I think that is true always, that you shouldn't need to do that. I do understand Supergirl's feeling the need, because of the audience it's targeting, feeling the need to justify that. And especially with a lot of the tweets and comments I've seen on our videos where we talk about Supergirl, I understand why they feel the need to justify that a female can lead her own show.
I appreciate the point. I don't like how they made it.
I
And
agree.
yeah.
I agree.
Let's end that conversation forever.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah. All right. We talked about a lot of the things that we loved, and we could honestly talk for maybe 2 hours about all the
Yes.
things we loved about this show. But obviously, it wasn't perfect. What are some of the things that maybe could have used a little tightening up, or maybe could have been deleted
Robin.
entirely?
The shitty upstairs neighbor, Robin.
Yeah.
And it wasn't
yeah.
even Ruben. There's the two siblings that live
Ruben
upstairs.
and Robin.
Ruben was okay.
Ruben was okay.
I found out that he was in tidy white. He's not a diaper.
Oh,
But they still feel
apologize.
those siblings feel way too heightened for this show.
A
I
show
get what
where
they
a
were
woman can
trying to
punch
do.
people through walls.
Yeah.
That like comedically, they feel like overwritten characters in Big Bang Theory,
Right.
In this show,
They feel kind of like exaggerated, angry versions of the neighbors in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah, you
maybe.
brought that up. Yeah.
I feel like they were fine one-note characters. Ruben ended up serving a purpose in the plot.
Sadly.
Man.
And then they kept bringing Robin back.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't need to come-
She
she
did not
really
need to
didn't
come
need to come
back.
back.
She was just there to ruin things. And I think we're all kind of in agreement that like the way the Simpson plot line played out, it felt like it escalated quickly.
Well, it was an odd turn, because it was like we've been handling this Kilgrave plot all season, and all of a sudden we've got this episode where Will just is turned loose.
Thinking about it, it starts to make a little sense, but it just happens so fast. It kind of
Yeah.
it doesn't work as well. I get it, because that's the weakest part for me, is the Simpson plotline, because the roommates, as annoying as they were, it was like I could just deal with them. But with him, it was just like, why are you doing all this? Like, because he gets like mind raped,
Yeah.
and then like he is a scout and he's watching Jessica's house, and he puts a bomb in there. Little much. Where'd you get a bomb? Also, I know you're spec ops. I get it, but
I feel like they could have
where'd you get a
fleshed-
bomb?
Yeah, I feel like they could have fleshed that out too. Whereas like I was part of a special police unit meant to deal with superpowered people.
No. Spec ops meant army.
I know,
Yeah.
and that also felt like, because then he goes back into, even though he's a cop now, then he goes back into an army program, sort of. If they just took the army part out of it and said, I was part of a special unit specifically designed to deal with superheroes and villains, which makes sense in this world. And so he wants to go back into, because the reason he goes back into is to stop Kilgrave, and that would have tied that in together.
Or if they just did a better job of, instead of being a police officer and like it's spec ops, and an army. Now I'm in the army again. Like if you kind of just tied it together, like
Now
oh,
I'm
I'm a
new.
veteran.
Yeah.
I'm a veteran. Like and then
Yeah.
you bring that back. But yeah, and like his army buddies exploding, like him like getting in tactical gear to go inside. Like what were you gonna do?
Yeah.
What were you gonna do when you ran inside that house and Kilgrave was there? He just says stop. He blows you up. He makes you shoot yourself. He makes you do it. He makes you. My favorite line was, "I told someone to go screw themselves." Like, how do you think that looked?
Yeah.
But
That
the
was
pills. I don't know.
but it's cool
Well,
that they connect
I
back.
kind of love Nuke, because I'm trying to remember what Daredevil run I'm thinking of. It might be Born Again that he's in the final act of that.
Yeah.
But like, yeah. But he's such a formidable presence, and I love the whole like, give me a red, and then he hops out of a helicopter and just starts wasting people. Like, he's terrifying in an entirely different way.
Yeah.
And I feel like jamming all of that into one episode, especially with all of the perspective we already have on him, I don't know why he's so desperate to find Jessica. Like, it just
why he killed the police captain.
Why would you
Clemens.
kill Clemens?
Yeah, Clemens. That bothers me on several levels. One, it reminds me too much of Daredevil, where you've got a veteran black actor playing a cool role,
An important role.
and then just kill him off just to prove how bad the bad white guy is.
Not crazy about that.
And also, I found out I didn't really catch his name. Not only is he Lester from The Wire, and it's that's like my favorite character on The Wire.
Yeah.
But he plays Oscar Clemens from Greg Rucka's Punisher run, which is one of my favorite Punisher runs, and he's a cool character in it. And they just offed him without ever.
2 in a row. 2 good characters. Why?
This one was more surprising than the Ben Urich one.
Oh, sure.
And also, and overall, Oscar Clemens is less integral to any mythology than Ben Urich
Ben
is.
freaking Urich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That's
that's another
a bummer. And also that rich couple that tried to kill her.
And that was fine.
At least they switched it up. To me, that plays back. It was a little out there, but at least it played into the more episodic nature. That was one where she got to be a detective.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I like that because Daredevil was a lawyer for an episode, and the rest he was Daredevil.
Yeah.
So in this, she was actually being a PI until like the last 3 episodes when they had like the final story.
Well, that like comes back again to structure and why this season works so well is it's broken up into like really 4 acts.
Yeah.
It's discovering that Kilgrave is out there and trying to find him, discovering where he is and how he's getting information on Jessica. Yeah. Then the second act is, okay, we found him. Now we're taking the fight to Kilgrave, and that's like episode 5 through episode 7. Then we've got episodes 8, 9, and 10, where we've got Jessica and Kilgrave together, Kilgrave's escape, and sort of the fallout from that. And then the final 3 episodes of we need to find Kilgrave before he gets stronger.
Yeah.
And finishing the fight.
And the baby.
The fetus baby. Also,
no one
I
ate
feel
the
like,
fetus. No one ate the fetus.
Talking about he used it to get more
sorry, he
powerful.
shoved the fetus into his brain. Yeah, that's what it was.
I also thought Malcolm, the neighbor that was the drug addict, was a lot more interesting as a drug addict. Once he got clean, he's like, oh, you're the generic helper guy.
I liked him for a few episodes. I really liked him a few episodes after he got clean.
Yeah.
And that plot point where like Robin shows up to the counseling meeting and was like, we need to get Jessica, and everyone's like, yeah, that makes sense. And like also something that didn't make a lot of sense. Someone tweeted at me. I was like, oh shit, that doesn't make sense. Robin hit Jessica in the head with a 2x4 or whatever. Out. Hit by a food truck.
Yeah.
Up in about 5 seconds and kind of walking around and fighting.
What do you guys think about them killing off Kilgrave?
Disappointing.
Disappointing because I loved him so much and he was so good. But it was a nice like way of resolving the story. Yes.
I wonder. I had a lot of mixed feelings about it. One, there's the initial like, oh no, Kilgrave can't be in anything anymore because Marvel finally created a really compelling villain for their cinematic universe.
And
but he's
a
also
middle finger at the end.
He's so overpowered.
That's the other thing I was wondering. Is there any more? Is there a part of that type of story with that character that this season didn't cover? Is there a version of his story?
No, because we
didn't really see.
No, except for being a sidekick later or a henchman.
Right.
I was kind of wondering
being a henchman.
I was actually
defenders and like someone brings him out of prison and he like
Wilson Fisk uses him as whatever.
Oh man, that's a big mistake. Then Kilgrave takes over Wilson Fisk. Wilson Fisk is done.
Unless Fisk is able to give himself an immunity to the Kilgrave virus. But I also wondered like Jessica Jones overcoming Kilgrave is so important to it, but her killing him, what does that do for her? Like, does that really provide the type of, instead of like conquering him, he's just gone now?
Yeah.
Yes, but like he was raping and ruining
seriously, you should kill him though.
You know, remember when he stole someone?
He should be dead.
He made somebody cut out his own kidneys and give it to him.
But he gave him a machine.
He gave him a dialysis machine. And he wrote "kill me," and Jessica's like, "No, I'm not going to kill you. Kill Kilgrave," and that's good. But like, that was horrible.
Yeah, he is a monster.
Yeah.
No.
I mean, I don't think he needed to die. I do like this point that you're making about we saw pretty much almost every single permutation of what a character with these powers, what kind of storylines we could have with him.
No.
He's so overpowered. You could sub in the Luke Cage thing and sub in Tony Stark or sub in Captain America. Like the only way I could see it getting bigger is he takes over more people or he takes over more powerful people. Yeah. But we get it.
I had no need to see him. I know a lot of people look, well, he should be purple. What matters to the character is his personality. Well, I was actually, since they did kill him off, I kind of wish at the end, like drug
as the colored
not only well, not even that. Once he got that drug that made him superpowered, not only have him be purple, but have him look like a monster. Especially when he goes to kiss Trish, like if he's like purple with like veins and like a welt and stuff like that.
Oh, but if you watch the episode again, like when he gets injected, you see like the veins kind of coming up his body, and then they cut. But when he yells "stop" at the end, his eyes, if you go back and watch it, like his eyes, like
purple
like
out
a
a
purple
bit.
vein comes out of his face, and that's really cool. And that's all I need. No, I didn't even need that, but that's all I
just
needed.
figured since you killed him out, like go for broke, have him look like a old Universal horror monster, like Creature from the Black Lagoon type shit. Not
fair.
that, but like
But purple.
terrible.
Yeah. Any final points?
I loved all the little nods they did. Like Goldfish was a nod to a graphic novel. The ship, sorry, he was the yacht he was going to sail away in.
Brian Michael Bendis,
And
which was going to be called AKA Goldfish.
That's cute.
Interestingly enough, the comic.
No, I'm just ready for a second season. I'm a little nervous because Kilgrave was so good.
Yes,
and whatever they
so
do,
personal.
Yeah,
it was very
that's
personal.
really my concern. Is we're taking it into more comic booky territory with
HGI, and all this.
GHI or IGH.
IBM.
Yeah, whatever.
IBM, ATT.
Right. Like that's my point. Is like, okay, it's a faceless organization. Who cares? I've seen this. I've seen. What we saw in this season, I've never seen this.
Yeah.
As long as they keep it grounded in what this company did to Jessica and to Luke forever.
If it is Luke, we don't really.
Luke could be a Kilgrave.
It's inferred.
Yeah.
It's inferred that they were both changed by this company.
Yeah.
That this is as long as it's grounded in what this company did to them and keeping it personal like that, and the fact that they could have had a more normal life. To me, that's where the beauty of the season comes from. And as long as they keep it personal, it can work.
Yeah.
That's my 2 cents.
Or personal to Trish, somebody in Jessica Jones supporting cast, because right now Trish is the one researching it, and obviously she has the connection to Nuke, who I don't think is out of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And Patsy Walker, like that was a fun little tie-in too.
That was a fun little tie-in because it really tied into her comic book origins as a teen comic before becoming a superhero comic. Really, the attention to detail in the show was really on point.
Give this showrunner, give her a movie. I'd like to see her make a movie.
I really want to see a second season of Jessica
Melissa
Jones.
Rosenberg has made movies. They're called the Twilight movies.
She wrote those.
Whoops. Whoopsie.
But again, that doesn't take away anything from the.
No, she's an excellent writer. She has more control in TV than in movies. That's why I'm saying keep her in TV.
Yeah.
Fair. Okay. Yeah.
So I really want a second season. I'm hoping that either A, The Defenders comes out sooner than I think it will, or that they're able to make it work with a second season, not having to worry about when Defenders lands.
Yeah.
And I'm for Luke Cage's show.
Yeah. I hope that it's as dope as this one.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I think that's about it for all of us here. Sam, where can the people find you?
Find me.
Police!
God damn
but we're going so long, DJ.
The only reason anybody tunes into this show, gosh damn it.
I'm sorry.
We're continuing the Superman saga with his identity being out and him wearing the t-shirt and jeans with Action Comics number 47. Greg Pak, Aaron Cutter, really great. Robin War begins, where we see We Are Robin, the street gang of Robins, dealing with Damian and Tim and Grayson, crossing over with that. So that should be pretty cool. Over in the indie world, Vertigo's coming out with a new comic called The Sheriff of Babylon, which is a cool comic dealing with like the Middle East and stuff like that. I recommend checking that out. And also, Paper Girls number 3 comes out. And if you guys haven't been following Paper Girls, it's Brian K. Vaughan with Cliff Chang on art, and it's great. It reminds me a lot of movies from like the 80s, like Gremlins, E.T., Goonies, that type of feel.
Cool.
It's really great. I highly recommend it. Over at Marvel, coming out with a new number 1 with Daredevil, written by Chris Soule, who's a really great artist or a great writer. And Daredevil's getting a sidekick for the first time.
Oh, cool.
He's no longer a defense attorney. He's working for the state as a prosecutor, changing it up a little bit. So it should be interesting to check out. And also Red Wolf number 1, which I think Marvel's billing as their first time they've had an ongoing series following a Native American. It sounds like it's taking place in the Old West and dealing with fallout from Secret Wars.
Cool.
In the Old West.
In like the whatever part of Battle World he was on is informing this
Interesting.
and it seems like a cool character. It definitely looks like a Western comic. It sounds like it's going to be pretty cool, so I recommend checking that out.
Very cool. Also read Martian Manhunter because I'm reading Martian Manhunter over DC, and I really like the story.
I've heard
Good.
great things about it, but I have not read it myself.
Good shit. Sam, where can the people find you, and what are you working on?
I'm on Twitter at Sam Basher or YouTube, youtube.com/Dublin, like the city, Inc., like Incorporated TV, Dublin TV. I do a monthly series called Bucket List where I go and do stupid stuff, and you can watch it, and I scream. And then I have like a bi-weekly series for, it's like a talk show called Sam's Tiny Plays, where we get to talk about all the tiniest things you can think of. It's much cooler than that sounded. I promise.
You can find me pretty much anywhere, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram at DJ Talks Trash. And our short just got a write-up on Fangoria.
That's
Mature
great.
Just got a write-up on Fangoria, so it's pretty cool. And we're submitting it to festivals and stuff, so
Awesome.
yeah.
And you can find me on Twitter, as always, at Matt Lieberman, MattLieberman. If you have Screen Junkies Plus, you can check out my appearance on TV Fights. I was on the very first episode. It's a great time. My friend Roxy Stryer, who you know from this show, hosts that show, so you should check that show out. And on my podcast, Ask Liebs, it's an advice show. You can send me emails at mattliebermanofficial@gmail.com. Comes out twice a week. It's a good show. Check it out on iTunes or on YouTube. All right?
Very cool.
Thank you all so much. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Happy holidays.
Jessica Jones is in Civil War.
Ooh, Trish Walker.
Trish Walker. No, she's not.